How much longer do you give yourself doing this thing, going around being
I don't know. I never thought I'd be doing it for 2 years even, you know. When we started off, I never thought we'd make it very big anyway. And then when we're making records for 2 years and everybody still goes around calling us quite a new group, you know, sort of. And I don't know, honestly. I think we're sort of pretty well set up for at least another year.
Mick Jagger remains an iconic figure in rock music. As the lead vocalist and a founding member of the Rolling Stones, Jagger's career spans more than 6 decades. Known for his distinctive voice and electrifying stage presence, he helped define the rebellious spirit of rock and roll. But despite his success, he's also had a few feuds he's had to contend with. Keith Richards.
The difficulty in growing up, I think, is that you start with this gang of people. And as anyone knows that's been in a gang, or the gang just simply can't last forever.
Mick and Keith, both founding members of the Stones, have shared an extraordinary musical partnership that has shaped the landscape of rock and roll. Their collaboration has produced some of the most iconic songs in rock history, establishing the Rolling Stones as one of the greatest bands of all time. But their relationship has been famously tumultuous, marked by a long-standing feud that has added a layer of complexity to their dynamic. Mick and Keith met as childhood friends in Dartford, England, and reconnected in the early 60s over their shared love of blues music. This reconnection led to the formation of the Stones in 1962, alongside Brian Jones, Charlie Watts, and Bill Wyman. Jagger and Richards became the primary songwriters for the band, crafting a string of hits that defined the era, such as I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Gimme Shelter. Jagger's charismatic stage presence and distinctive voice, combined with Keith's innovative guitar riffs and songwriting prowess, crafted a powerful synergy. Their contrasting styles, Jagger's polished and calculated approach versus Richards' raw and rebellious demeanor, complemented each other, driving the band's creative output. This collaboration was pivotal in establishing the Rolling Stones' reputation as the bad boys of rock, a counterpoint to the more polished image of the Beatles. Despite their professional success, Jagger and Richards' relationship has been fraught with tension. Their feud can be traced back to personal and professional differences, often exacerbated by their contrasting personalities. Jagger's meticulous and business-oriented nature often clashed with Richards' laid-back, hedonistic lifestyle. The tensions came to a head in the 1980s, a period marked by significant internal strife within the band. Richards, frustrated with Jagger's growing control over the band's direction, began publicly criticizing him. This culminated in Richards' 2010 autobiography, Life, where he openly disparaged Jagger, referring to him as unbearable and making derogatory remarks about his physical attributes and behavior. Richards expressed his disdain for Jagger's perceived pretentiousness and controlling nature, which he felt stifled the band's creativity. One notable point of contention was Jagger's decision to pursue a solo career in the mid-80s. Richards viewed this as a betrayal, believing it detracted from the Rolling Stones' cohesion and focus. Jagger's solo endeavors, coupled with his managerial decisions, including the band's business dealings and touring schedules, often led to heated arguments between the two. Despite the acrimony, the two have managed to keep the Rolling Stones together, a testament to their mutual respect and understanding of the band's legacy. Their ability to reconcile after disputes, driven by their shared history and commitment to the music, has allowed them to continue creating and performing together. In recent years, the public nature of their feud has diminished, with both acknowledging the importance of their partnership. Richards has often spoken about the unique chemistry they share, describing the relationship as akin to a marriage, fraught with conflict but ultimately rooted in deep-seated affection and respect. The Jagger-Richards feud, while a significant part of their narrative, has also contributed to the mystique of the Rolling Stones. Their creative tension, fueled by their personal differences, has often resulted in some of their most compelling work. The interplay between Jagger's precision and Richards' spontaneity continues to be a driving force behind the band's enduring appeal. Steven Tyler.
Almost as awesome as Burger King's new crispy chickens. Chicken strips are tasty!
The feud between Jagger and Tyler appears to have originated from comparisons and perceived slights, both real and imagined. Tyler has often been dubbed the Demon of Screamin' for his high-energy performances and distinctive vocal style, which some critics and fans have compared to Jagger's stage presence and vocal delivery. The public aspect of the feud gained traction in the 80s and 90s when both bands were at the height of their fame. Tyler, known for his candid and often provocative statements, occasionally made comments perceived as critical of Jagger. For instance, Tyler once remarked that Aerosmith had taken rock and roll further than the Rolling Stones, suggesting a competitive edge. One notable incident that highlighted their feud occurred in 2001 during the concert for New York City, a benefit for the victims of the September 11th attacks. Both the Stones and Aerosmith performed, and the media speculated about the potential for backstage tensions. Reports suggested there were disagreements over set times and performance order, further fueling the rivalry narrative. Despite the tensions, there have been moments of mutual respect and acknowledgement. Tyler has occasionally praised Jagger's influence on his own performance style, acknowledging the impact Jagger has had on rock music. And Jagger has recognized Aerosmith's contributions to the genre, albeit more subtly. In recent years, the feud has seemed to mellow, with both artists focusing more on their legacies and contributions to music rather than any perceived rivalry. As elder statesmen of rock, Jagger and Tyler appear to have moved beyond their earlier conflicts, recognizing that their respective bands have both carved out significant places in rock history. The Sex Pistols.
I don't think that rock music has really a very rebellious attitude at the moment. I mean, it has an attitude of just the excess, which has always gone with it.
The feud between Mick Jagger and the Sex Pistols, particularly with their lead singer Johnny Rotten, aka John Lydon, epitomizes the generational clash between the established rock icons of the 60s and the rebellious punk rock movement of the late 70s. This conflict not only highlighted the differing musical styles and attitudes, but also underscored the punk movement's desire to overthrow the perceived complacency of the rock establishment. The Sex Pistols emerged in the mid-70s as the vanguard of the punk rock movement, characterized by its raw sound, anti-establishment lyrics, and defiant attitude. Johnny Rotten, with his sneering vocals and confrontational persona, became the face of this rebellion. Punk rockers viewed bands like the Rolling Stones as part of the old guard, epitomizing the excess and detachment from the street-level realities that punk sought to address. The Sex Pistols and their followers saw the Stones and Mick Jagger as symbols of an outdated rock aristocracy. To them, Jagger represented a bygone era of rock and roll that had become bloated and self-indulgent. Songs like God Save the Queen and Anarchy in the UK directly challenged the status quo, which included established rock stars. The Sex Pistols believed their raw, unpolished sound and anti-establishment ethos were a necessary antidote to the slick, commercialized rock of bands like the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger, known for his savvy understanding of the music industry and cultural trends, was not oblivious to the rise of punk, but his attitude towards the Sex Pistols and Johnny Rotten was dismissive. He saw Rotten's antics and the punk movement's aggression as gimmicky and lacking the musical sophistication that the Stones embodied. He saw Rotten as trying too hard to be provocative without the substance to back it up. The tension occasionally surfaced in public comments and actions. Johnny often targeted Jagger in interviews, criticizing his age, his detachment from the youth culture, and his role in what Rotten considered the commercial exploitation of rock. For his part, Jagger rarely engaged directly, but made it clear through dismissive comments that he did not take the Sex Pistols seriously as musicians. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think feuds Mick Jagger has had would be a bigger issue if he was starting his career today? Let us know in the comments section below.